Hey everyone, it's Sebastian here for Craft Cadence. Today we're answering a two-part question. The first part is, can electric mini pumps work for both inner tubes and tubeless tires? And the second part of the question is, for inner tubes, can it work for TPU inner tubes as well? And for tubeless tires, can it be used to seat a tubeless tire? The short answer to the first part is yes. However, for the second part, the answer is not clear. There are some nuances. But don't worry, we'll take you through everything in the video today. First, let's quickly cover the basics. Inner tubes are the classic setup. They use a separate inner tube inside the tire to hold air. The tube itself can be made from a variety of materials, the most common being the butyl rubber, as well as the TPU and also latex that we don't have here today. Inner tubes are mostly used by road cyclists, though they can be seen in gravel and mountain bike as well. Tubeless tires seal directly to the rim without a tube. They use a liquid sealant inside the tire to prevent small leaks, and the air is pumped directly into the tire. Tubeless is especially popular for gravel and mountain biking, and it has increasingly become prevalent in road cycling as well. Let's start with traditional butyl inner tubes. Electric mini pumps work perfectly with these, and they're great for higher pressure road tires. You may remember back in the days it was much more common to use thinner tires, for instance 23 to 25 millimeters, run at much higher pressure like 100 to 120 psi. Nowadays it's much more common to run wider tires with much lower pressures like 70 to 80 psi. And that is used to have more compliance and better control over uneven terrain. An e-pump like this one from Craft Cadence can go up to 120 psi for 25mm wide tires. But chances are of course that you never need to go up that high. In the last video we already tested pumping a 28mm tire to 75 psi with a butyl inner tube. It took 1 minute and 16 seconds from 0 to 75 psi, and it only took 1 bar from the battery. We will include a link below so you can see that video in full. Now let's talk about TPU inner tubes. These are gaining a lot of popularity due to properties such as low weight, low rolling resistance, and the fact that they take only 1/3 of the place that a normal butyl inner tube would take up. However, they can be less reliable and you have to take extra care during installation and follow the instructions very carefully. E-pumps can be used with TPU inner tubes. The issue here is whether the TPU inner tube comes with a resin, i.e. plastic valve, or not. This is because if the e-pump is applied directly to the inner tube valve, the heat generated by the e-pump can actually damage or even melt the resin, causing the inner tube to fail. This can be overcome if your e-pump, like this from Craft Cadence, has an extension hose which provides a safe distance from the e-pump to the resin valve. The extension hose is also great for smaller wheels with smaller gaps between the spokes, or if you simply don't want to hold your e-pump while it's pumping. You can just leave it on the ground. The seal on the extension hose is actually also better, which adds another benefit. That said, if your TPU inner tube uses a metal valve, there's no worries, and you can apply the e-pump directly to the valve. And here's how it works. Attach the extension hose to the e-pump, connect the Presta nozzle to the extension hose. Different nozzle types may be used for other e-pumps. In case of the Craft Cadence, you simply screw it on. For Schrader, you can apply the extension hose directly to the valve. There's no need to apply the Schrader nozzle. Then you connect the Presta nozzle to the valve, set your target PSI and start inflating. In this case we're also pumping from 0 to 75 psi using a 28mm tire with a TPU inner tube. As you can see, it took 86 seconds, similar to what it took with the butyl inner tube. Now on to tubeless tires. These have become the go-to choice for gravel and mountain bikers because they offer better puncture protection, lower rolling resistance over rough terrain, and the ability to run lower pressures for better grip and comfort. Electric mini pumps are fantastic in maintaining and refilling tubeless setups. In the last video we tested pumping a 40mm tire to 45 psi setup tubeless. It took 1 minute and 14 seconds from 0 to 45 psi and took 1 bar from the battery. Again, that video is available in the link in the description. This time let's demonstrate the same, but using the extension hose. As you can see, this took 63 seconds to pump from 0 to 40 psi and took 1 bar from the battery. While it is slower than a CO2 canister, it is reliable and the air is pumped steadily and it won't damage the valve. So we know that e-pumps work great with the tire already seated. Let's see what happens when you try to seat a tubeless tire using an e-pump. Here I have a 40mm gravel tire set up tubeless, but it is not seated yet. I'm going to use the Craft Cadence e-pump to try and seat it. As you can see, the electric mini pumps provide steady, consistent airflow, but not the sudden burst needed to force the tire bead into place. That actually worked pretty fine. However, it really depends on the combination of tire and rim. They need to work perfectly together and it really needs to sit already tight before the tire is even seated. In some cases, an e-pump can seat a tubeless tire. However, it is certainly not something you can rely on to work every time. For these reasons, Craft Cadence is upfront about the limitation of its e-pump. If other similarly sized e-pump providers are saying that they can seat a tubeless tire, I would be careful of that claim and take a closer look into it. So in summary, can e-pumps handle inner tubes, TPU tubes and tubeless tires? Yes! Just make sure your e-pump has an extension hose if you happen to use them on TPU inner tubes with resin valves. For tubeless, while an e-pump may not be able to seat a brand new tubeless tire 100% of the time, once it is seated, it is a precise, compact and steady solution for tubeless setups. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more cycling tips from Craft Cadence. Oh, and comment! Are you team tubeless or team inner tubes? Ride safe and see you next time.